Hello, my name is Mars, and welcome back to the Crimson Diamond. We are in the Garnet Mine, and we need to find Evan, Nessa, and Corvus. I hope it's not a maze of some sort, because I tend to not like those, but we'll see. Guess we just need to take a step forward. What happens if we look? We can probably only look as far as the lantern illuminates, right? The Garnet Mine's interior is much cooler than the outside. The air feels stale and still. You're grateful for the lantern's light, though the warm glow quickly gets swallowed by the darkness. You're dazzled by the crimson glints of garnets that are embedded in the rough rocks. The floor of the mine is carpeted by a thick layer of dust. You can see a leaning wooden beam meant to support the many tons of rocks above you. The stillness and silence reminds you of a tomb. You shiver. Alright. Look, beam? I'd feel a lot better if that beam was standing a lot straighter. I'd also feel a little better if I could see more of them, leaning or not. Alright, we can see different stuff here. The lantern casts flickering illumination on the edges of nearby rocks, richly studded with red and white crystals. You can see a piece of heavy mining machinery. Alright, yes, as we move, we can see different things. You see the rim of a large wheel and some indications of a large piece of heavy machinery. We probably can't use the loop here, can we? If you'd like to examine the flywheel, you'll need to get closer to it. I'm about as close to it as I can be. Can we examine? Cracks have formed in some of them, and most are beginning to lean on one side or another, almost as if they want to go to sleep. Okay. Okay. How do we get closer? Oh, there we are. From what you can see in the lantern's light, the machine consists of a hopper, a pair of flywheels, and other bits you can't identify. This looks like a jaw crusher. It would coarsely grind up the garnets, but more processing is required to grind them fine enough to be sold as an industrial abrasive. You also see discarded rocks of various shapes, sizes, and colors scattered on the floor under the machine. Garnets get fed into the hopper, the flywheels are turned, which activates some kind of grinding mechanism, and the ground up rocks empty out into the bucket placed underneath. Can we look in the bucket? You look inside the metal bucket. It's 1/3 full of coarsely ground garnets, smaller than gravel but larger than sand. When industrial abrasives are sold, they're ground finer than this. This is the first stage of grinding. An impact crusher would be used to grind these coarse garnets even finer than this. What about the rocks that are on the floor? You see a boulder near one of the leaning wooden support beams that looks like it may be a good candidate for a sample. Oh yes, I see. Oh! You slip and fall into the distant jagged depths of the mine. Great. Okay. Okay, that was death 7 of 7, so somehow I missed 5 deaths, which is good. Too bad you're not the gumshoe you thought you were. Be more careful next time. Okay. Okay, we didn't really do anything in here, but I would like to examine this crystal. Can we just look? You see a wooden support beam listing wildly to one side like a ship's mast in a storm. You notice a particularly large red crystal embedded in a nearby boulder. Ooh, gorgeous. You can see a good-sized red crystal embedded in a large boulder just off the path. Even in the deep darkness of the mine, it glitters brightly in your lantern's light. Stunning. Examine crystal? The red crystal is massive, with a deep red color and impressive clarity. It's a bit of a shame that crystals like this one got crushed into powder. I'm not surprised Crimson was established as a mining town. We can take a sample. We still have our tools. You chip a particularly lovely crystal sample out of the rock. Alright, now I do not remember the steps I need to take with the samples. There are some amazing red and colorless crystal formations. Stunning. While the mine interior sample is pocked with many lovely crystals, the most prominent one is large and red. A healthy-sized garnet, most likely. I think it's even gem quality. It's a real pity that this mine produced industrial abrasives only. It's too pretty to pulverize. What are we supposed to do with, like, the plate? Rub garnet on plate. Rubbing that on the street plate wouldn't reveal much because we already know it's a garnet. Okay. Alright, there are a couple ways to go. What about this shovel? Can we take the shovel? Now that you're inside the mine, there's no need for the shovel. Too bad. I could have used this in helping Jack clear the rubble outside. Okay. Alright, which way do we want to go? Looks like there are a few paths. Uh-oh. Okay, that was death 6 of 7. Before moving, Vaughn, find your way. Better luck next time. Okay. Okay. I don't really need to do much else but take a sample of the rock, the garnet. Now I can sing my song. This is garnet. Back together. And I'm never going down to the likes of you because I'm so much better. I forget the exact words. But that's the song you sing when you get your garnet back. Okay, I'm gonna save. Have garnet. Okay. So not that way. Path leading downwards into the darkness as well as to the east. Which way could they have gone, if they even came this way at all? I have to be optimistic. I will find Mr. Richards. What about this way? Nope. Not that way. This way? Where am I going? Uh-oh. You aimlessly wander in the mine until the lantern goes out. Oh no! I'm finding all the deaths. Wandering aimlessly seldom ends well. Have a game plan first, or some step-by-step directions. Okay. So I guess, am I supposed to find something else? I wonder how safe it is to be in here. Where would I find directions? Am I supposed to know this? Okay. Where am I supposed to find directions? Would they be, like, by the machine? Ah! No, I didn't mean to go there. Do I have a map of the mines? No, that's a map of the Sulaks. Okay, can I, like, look at the paths? The floor of the mine is covered in countless shoe print impressions that are leading in multiple directions, preserved in a thick layer of dust. Most of these must have been made decades ago by the miners who used to work here. It's an odd feeling to see these shoe prints, almost like looking back into the past. Aha! Here are some pointy-toed size 14 men's dress shoe prints, and impressions made by size 8 women's shoes, and size 12 men's boots. I recognize this tread pattern from Mr. Richards' other boots. Okay, so we can follow the footprints, hopefully. The 3 sets of footprints are the freshest, after all. Now I need to track these shoe prints and discover where they went next. The fresh shoe prints head east, deeper into the mine. Nothing but dusty miner shoe prints down the southern path. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna save. Are we supposed to just go down the path, or can I, like, say, track footprints? Okay. But what will I find when I get there? Gee, I'm glad I was able to track Nessa and Corvus down this path. I hope I can find Mr. Richards before it's too late. Uh-oh. Ah, what was that? Despite the terrifying rumbles and shudders surrounding you, you forge onward. Game has autosaved. Oh, good. Just as you reach this firelit cavern, your lantern goes out. Oh no, the lantern is out of oil. There's no turning back now. Sign your will, Evan. Sign my fake will, you mean? If you're so smart, why didn't you just forge Pa's will? Then you wouldn't have had to come up with this dumb scheme. If you were so smart, you'd know that Pa's lawyer is still alive. He'd pipe up pretty quick if an actual will from his client came out of nowhere. But this is a perfectly suitable backup plan. It's much easier to forge your will. If you do as you're told, I'll let you die quickly. Otherwise, you'll starve to death in the dark. And we'll forge your signature anyway. Nancy's onto you. You won't get away with this. We'll see about that. It'll be her word against ours. I have to rescue Mr. Richards. My first order of business is to distract Corvus. Can I, like, throw something? I have the Jordan almonds. She compared them to... Actually, I'm gonna look around first. She compared the almonds to bullets earlier, so we could, like, throw one at him. You've arrived upon an open, cavernous area in the mine. The path descends down to a natural platform. It appears that the cave-ins that have been rocking the mine have created some deep chasms. An abundance of rocks of various sizes litter the floor. The rockfall looks fresh, too, and there's a lot more of it. One doorway to the north is still clear. Doorways to the north and east are blocked by rocks. This is a very dangerous area. There's a central doorway that leads further back into the mine, as well as a doorway on the right that is completely clogged with rockfall. You see a large boulder, even taller than you, in the shadows nearby. You also see a table, a fire, and a wheelbarrow. The big boulder would be an ideal hiding spot from which to try distracting Corvus. Okay. Hide behind boulder. This is a pretty good place to conceal myself should Corvus happen to turn his head. Okay. How about... Let's just look at all the things that she mentioned. The wheelbarrow has a broken handle and is filled with huge, heavy rocks. The front brace still looks intact, but this wheelbarrow isn't going anywhere. Is there any situation where an immobile wheelbarrow could be useful? And the fire? While the fire is a welcome source of light, its flickering and the long shadows it casts lends an air of menace to the scene. Okay. Aha! Oh! I got caught. Any last words, brother dearest? Not for you. Nessa takes a handful of crushed almonds from the table and kills him with it. She then stuffs the almonds in Evan's mouth. Okay. Nessa, what have you done? I should have done that a long time ago. Goodbye, Nancy. Corvus takes the lantern and follows Nessa out of the cavern. You're left in darkness, listening to Mr. Richards gasp his last breath. I'm sorry, Mr. Richards. All you can do is wait. It feels like an eternity. And then, footsteps? I'm in here. Help! Nancy, is that you, Mr. Richards? Ranger Murdoch! Nancy, is this what was supposed to happen? Mr. Richards is dead. Let's get you out of here. Ranger Murdoch takes out a pocket knife and saws through the ropes that are binding you. Thanks. Corvus got away, and so did Nessa. I'm sorry, I failed. The important thing is you're safe. Come along. I'm sorry, Mr. Richards. Goodbye. Ranger Murdoch leads the way out of the mine. You feel incredibly relieved to be out of the mine. It feels like a great weight has been lifted off your shoulders. The automobile is parked down the hill. And there are more rangers waiting for us at the train station.
How did everyone get here so quickly?
Well, it wasn't quick, actually. I'm not actually a forest ranger. I'm a member of the Northwest Mounted Police. We've been on the trail of a German spy and saboteur who is rumored to be in this area. We believe he is responsible for the bombing of the bridge west of Crimson.
Albert Respa. I mean, Carl L.
A man known as Carl Leffler. You revealed him, Nancy. Well done. Not only that, you tipped us off to what his next target would be.
The Sioux Locks.
Right again. As you know, Canada declared war on Germany a few weeks ago. It appears operatives directed by the German Foreign Office have undertaken a campaign here in Canada to delay military aid to Europe by targeting transportation links such as railways, bridges, and canals. We strongly suspect that Carl L., a man we know as Carl Leffler, is one of those operatives. He has been apprehended at the Sioux Locks while setting up explosive charges. And thanks to your impeccable detective work, Mr. Leffler will surely be brought to justice.
Gee.
Let's go. I mean, good for that. God, you guys all walk so slow. Chapter 6 complete. That's... Can I go back and save Evan? The train station is a flurry of activity. Rangers are milling all around, consulting with each other in whispered conversations. Inside, you can hear the non-stop whir and tick of the telegraph machine. The ranger in charge looks up and acknowledges Ranger Murdoch with a nod. Just the man I wanted to see. Thanks to the intelligence you provided, we were able to alert authorities in Sault Ste. Marie about the impending sabotage attempt on the Sioux Locks. They were ready and waiting and caught the man red-handed with luggage full of dynamite and blasting caps, not to mention a 9mm Luger in the glove box. Imagine his surprise when they called him by his real name, Carl Leffler, aka Albert Respa, German spy and saboteur. I would have loved to have seen the look on his face. All in all, some mighty fine work, Ranger Murdoch. A crisis has been averted. As much as I'd like to take credit for it, Nancy Maple here is the one you ought to be thanking. She single-handedly figured it out. All I did was pass along the information. Well then, my thanks to you, Nancy Maple. You're a Canadian hero.
Thanks.
Though I'll warn you, you might have to be an unsung hero at that. I have a feeling the Canadian government won't want to reveal just how vulnerable we were tonight. It can undermine the public's confidence at a crucial turning point for our country.
Oh, I don't mind at all, as long as things worked out for the best.
They did, Nancy, truly. Thank you for your service. Now, what have you got here? We've just come from the old abandoned garnet mine. A busy night. Yes, indeed. Please dispatch some crime scene investigators to the lodge so we can build a strong case. Roger that. I'm heading back down to Toronto now. I need to meet with some higher-ups immediately. The Northwest Mounted Police has commandeered a train back to the city. I've been told you called Toronto home, Miss Maple. Will you join me?
I'm exhausted. I don't think I'm up for more traveling tonight, and I'm not ready to leave Crimson just yet.
Suit yourself. I'll need to take your statement for the report, but that can wait a day or two.
Thank you. I'll need a bit of time to get my thoughts in order.
Of course. There's going to be a whole ton of paperwork to do for this whole caper. I'll be trapped behind a desk for weeks. Do send word when you'll be returning. I'll pick you up from Union Station and escort you straight to the police station.
Will do. Thanks, Ranger Murdoch.
Nathan drives you and Jack back to the lodge. Margaret's death feels like it happened weeks ago. And your arrival in Crimson feels like it happened months ago. And it feels like years ago when you spoke to your boss, Professor Plummer. Is that supposed to be like a detective reference to, like Professor Plum? Like Clue? This game's so cheeky, I love it.
Ah, my boss! My fieldwork, what am I going to tell him?
Despite the excitement of the evening, you find yourself nodding off, only to be jolted awake when Nathan's automobile hits an uneven stretch of road. Eventually, not even the bumpy road can rouse you. Nancy, you awake? We're back. Once Jack has roused you from your deep slumber, you make your way upstairs as quietly as possible lest you wake Kimi.
My goodness, what a night! I've never been so exhausted.
Okay, wow, I can't believe we're getting such a long cutscene after seemingly failing the main story. I'm definitely going back and trying that again when this cutscene ends. But as your gaze falls into the ransacked curio cabinet, you realize that there are a few things you may want to bring up with the other inhabitants of the lodge tomorrow morning. I'd better make some new notes on fresh paper to remind myself. Or I could just decide to go to sleep if I wish. Did Margot have an accomplice in the ruby brooch theft? Jack. That was a yes or no question. Yes. Yes, I suspect someone helped Margot hide the ruby brooch effectively. Who is the accomplice of the ruby brooch theft? Jack. I'm certain of that. Jack admitted to helping Margot hide the brooch. His fingerprint was on it clear as day. I found the brooch in Margot's walk-in closet pinned under a hat. After Nessa and Corvus had already thoroughly searched there, including the hats. Margot was already dead by then. Jack hid the brooch there after Nessa and Corvus were finished searching that room. He admitted as much to me when I confronted him about finding his fingerprint on the brooch. Now about that curio cabinet. I don't even know it was stolen from the curio cabinet. Maybe I should have been more observant. The imposter at the Crimson Lodge? Albert. Right. His geology and mineralogy books looked brand new, because he'd never once consulted them. Oh, they were part of his disguise. That explains why he was examining that glacial erratic. He had no idea that it wouldn't be a good indicator of the geology in the area. Oh. Nancy, you're so much smarter than me. I never caught on to that. Bird watching. After everything I've witnessed, Kimi's true goal, I'm pretty certain that Kimi is just a keen bird watcher who probably had the worst vacation of her life. I'm so sorry. I was so suspicious of you, Kimi. Every time I play a detective game, I feel like there's some character who I like. And sure, I think that I fall into the trap set by the game. Like this happened with Peggy in Killer Frequency, and now it happened with Kimi in this game. Where I just am so needlessly suspicious of them the entire time, and then it turns out they're totally innocent. Ugh. I gotta look back and see if there was someone like that in Between Horizons. I don't know. By the way, I am really liking this end section where we can like answer questions like freeform. Oh, this is really good. I like this. I like this a lot. Everything and anything can look suspicious if you're looking for suspicious activity. Were Evan Richards and Nathan Cardinal friends or enemies? Friends. Their conversation in the conservatory indicates that they are similarly aligned when it comes to the fate of the lodge and lands. They also met up in the study after that first dinner. It was hard to tell if they were friendly then. I never doubted that they were friends. Was I supposed to? But I did see them shake hands. They respected each other. Nathan was out late at night with Jack, and they were both helping Mr. Richards. I heard them talking about that. I've recovered a sample of clear crystals from the salt at the lodge that didn't dissolve in water. I'm pretty sure that's what Nathan and Jack were trying to hide. And Nathan helped me and Jack try to rescue Mr. Richards tonight. He's a true friend. Mr. Richards was lucky to have him. What were Jack and Nathan trying to conceal? Garnets? I don't really think Jack and Nathan would be trying to hide garnets. Crimson is famous for garnets. Oh, damn it. Were Margot and Jack having an affair? No. I'm quite sure Margot and Jack were just friends. I'm gonna have to go back and try that question again, too. He explained the meaning of their secretive boudoir meeting. He was helping her inject the medicine. Jack was a good friend to Margot and nothing more. He told me so, and I believe him. What's more, the evidence I found backs him up. I found his fingerprints in Margot's medicine kit. What item suggests Nessa came to the lodge intending to threaten or harm Evan? I love this. I love this. This pop quiz at the end, making sure I was really paying attention. I'm gonna have to go back and try that one question again, because I didn't realize that every question was pass-fail. I think they were trying to hide diamonds. Am I dumb for thinking that? I don't know. Mr. Richards was allergic to almonds, and Nessa knew that. She brought those Jordan almonds with her and filled that cut crystal bowl in the parlor. Overt as you please. Nessa wasn't just being a rude guest, she was a bully. And that's how she killed her brother. Poor Mr. Richards. You wake up the next morning feeling refreshed and ravenous. As you make your way down the upstairs hallway, you begin to smell the inviting aromas of coffee and bacon. You enter the kitchen and find the other inhabitants gathered around the table, digging into a hearty breakfast. You join in. Morning light is streaming through the small window, causing motes of dust to sparkle and dance in the light. Jack, you've already admitted to helping Margot hide Nessa's ruby brooch. Sure did. You'd said before that you and Margot planned to sell the brooch to help pay for the lodge's upkeep. Yeah, she was trying to lay claim to the whole place, but she'd never lifted a finger to take care of it, nor sent a dime. You also said because of the state of things, you didn't see the point of executing that plan. But I think you should. Here. You hand the ruby brooch over to Jack. Yeah, all the people who are left over in the end are just good, nice people. I like this little group. Thanks, Nancy, I will. You mentioned that Nessa had it out for Margot, and this was Margot's way of getting back at her. Oh, I just noticed my cats are snuggling. I never see them snuggle. Sorry, I got distracted. Yeah, but I figured it was because Nessa was afraid Mr. Richards would bequeath the lodge and lands to Margot instead. I was afraid of that too for a little bit. But once I learned how much Margot loved it here too, just as it is, I worried less. But when that fisherman found that diamond, things got more complicated. Evan had a long history of giving in to his sister just so she'd leave him alone. When Nessa got here, she recognized Margot from some old wanted posters and tried to use that to drive Margot away. Margot was a wanted criminal for things she'd done back when she lived in Skagway during the Klondike Gold Rush. Nessa threatened to tell Evan all about it, but Evan already knew. He and Margot kept no secrets from each other. Me and Jack knew too. Margot was very forthcoming. She made a peaceful life for herself here, away from the long arm of the law. We were all very protective of her. Yeah, and Margot and Evan seemed like very nice people as well. Despite Margot's checkered past and Evan's gruffness. This was a nice, happy family. I'm really sorry that we lost two of them. But it seems we didn't protect her well enough. No, we didn't. Her secrets. You mean like in her boudoir in the first night you arrived? Yes, I know we've already discussed that. You said the two of you were just friends, and I believe you. Margot knew Nessa and Corvus could rummage through her things. Her vanity has a lock, but she suspected that it wasn't secure. In fact, she suspected it had been tampered with already. I kept the brooch in my pocket for a bit, but when we were fixing to head to the garnet mine, I didn't want to bring it with me. So I nipped upstairs to her giant closet and pinned it to the underside of one of her hats, up on one of those mannequin heads. I figured should Nessa and Corvus return to the lodge, the last place they'd look is somewhere they already searched. Kimi, I'm sorry that your birding trip was full of so much drama and tension, but I'm very glad I got to meet you. Thanks so much, Nancy. That's very kind of you. Yes, this was one of the strangest trips I've ever taken. So much unpleasantness and tragedy. But I don't regret coming here. Crimson is a beautiful place. Margot is very kind. Jack and Nathan really helped me feel at home here despite everything. I liked Mr. Richards too. He was a quiet type like me. Sometimes people take that the wrong way. I didn't, not with him. And he loved Crimson. I can see why. And Nancy, I'm very glad I got to meet you too. You're one of a kind, brave and clever. No matter what happens, I'm sure you'll make your dreams come true. Thank you. That means a lot to me. I'll try my best. Nathan, I have to know. Yes? I have to know. Are there diamonds here in Crimson? Nathan and Jack exchanged meaningful looks. I mean, I didn't really find any evidence of the presence of diamonds here. Well, why don't we leave it at that? Nancy, we know that your field work is very important to you, and we certainly can't prevent you from divulging anything you may have discovered here. We can only ask you to think about what that news could mean for Crimson. We like it how it is. I do too. And so did Margot and Mr. Richards. What'll happen now? That'll partially depend on you, Nancy. You all pile into Nathan's automobile. You're touched that Kimi would make the long, arduous trip to see you off. As the automobile trundles away from the lodge, you crane your neck and take one last look. I'm really going to miss this place, in spite of everything. You turn and face forward. The rattling of the rough road makes it hard to think. The only coherent thought you manage to have is, what will you tell your boss? And what could that mean for your future? Thank goodness the bridge has been repaired enough to allow trains to cross it again. Repaired enough? Huh, you are traveling light, Nancy. I wouldn't be too concerned.
Traveling light thanks to Albert.
Okay, Nancy, the train's gonna leave soon. Be well.
Oh, but what about you, Kimi?
I've talked it over with Jack and Nathan. I think I'll stay on for a bit. It's been so tense here. I want to relax, enjoy the birds. And the fall migration is starting in a few weeks, and the leaves will be changing color. I've promised Jack that I'll help with the lodge chores. I'll earn my keep.
That's wonderful news. I wish I could stay longer too, but I've got to get back to my job in the city.
Good luck, Nancy. I'm going to miss you.
I'll miss you too, Kimi. Be well.
Goodbye, Nancy. Yeah, bye, Nancy. Now go on. The train's not going to wait forever.
Right.
Look at them waving. You stare out of the train window. It's a clear, cool morning. As crisp and refreshing as it is for this far north, you brace yourself for the muggy summer heat down by Toronto. Your mind is buzzing with all that has transpired over the last few days. It feels like you're returning home from a long voyage. You can't help but wonder, did you miss anything? Did you leave any loose ends? I mean, I absolutely did. Evan died. We missed however we were supposed to solve that. There were things like the garlic on Nancy's breath that I never asked about, the stuff in the curio cabinet, which I guess I never examined closely enough. And none of those were required for completion. It's really cool to me that an adventure game leaves loose ends, but it's not a game like, I don't know if you've heard of Thimbleweed Park. That's a really obnoxious game that lets you pick litter off the side of the road and keep it in your inventory, but it's never useful for anything. They're just, sometimes they do joke things, but they're never really important. That feels like an adventure game, a loose end in an adventure game that is really frustrating. This game is full of loose ends, things that are extra, things that you can miss out on, and usually I feel like that is bad design in an adventure game. But this was really satisfying because there were some that I actually made the effort to tie up, and I felt really satisfied when I did, knowing that I could have missed it. I'm really impressed by that. Would you like to be privy to some helpful introspective thoughts? Yes or no? Yes? You ponder the thoughts you had the previous night before bed. What was stolen from the curio cabinet? I wish I'd taken a look before the theft. Albert was an imposter. Yep. What about Albert's actions? Certainly didn't help his mineralogist charade. What about his words? Could we have called him out for something? Was there any written proof that he wasn't an expert mineralogist? I'm pretty sure Nathan was Mr. Richard's friend, but did I miss any important details of his actions? What about that time Jack and Nathan met up in the carriage house? Could there have been a way to listen to them discuss things? Could I have hidden somewhere? What if Nathan was trying to preserve and protect the lodge and lands? He might have sought out Albert's help. I should have kept my eyes and ears open for that circumstance, like when they met in the boathouse. I remember that. I remember I tried to enter the boathouse, and then they were like, "Hi, Nancy." They left and were like, "Hi, Nancy." And I was like, okay, I guess I missed that conversation. Did Nathan stand to lose anything by helping Mr. Richards? I mean, he'd gone off reservation, and the Ranger Murdoch was giving him crap about that, but so yeah, he did, but we never really went into depth about it. He wasn't at the dining room meeting with Ranger Murdoch. I was going to ask Jack about it at the time, but he didn't seem to want me to address that. Maybe if I'd asked Jack about Nathan after that meeting, or even Nathan himself, I'd learned something interesting. Some of the rock salt didn't melt in water. It's definitely not rock salt, but what is it? I can't think of much else, actually. So yeah, there are plenty of loose ends, but I feel like there could have been more. So Satisfying experience, I really must say. You turn your attention towards your impending interview with Ranger Murdoch. You feel like you investigated Margot's murder to the best of your ability. I have a feeling Corvus's satchel contains important information that I've overlooked. His satchel? Maybe I should have taken a closer look outside the smokehouse. I saw those long hairs caught up in that tree north of the jetty. Maybe I should have collected them as potential evidence. I never did figure out what was stolen from the curio cabinet. If only I'd taken a closer look before the theft. Ranger Murdoch meets you at Union Station as arranged. Ranger Murdoch! Hello, Nancy. It's good to see you again. Would you like me to drive you home to rest? No thanks. I'm eager to have my interview. Let's go. Right, follow me. This is a really long and drawn out, conclusion sequence, I must say. It's a little taxing. You look over at the wanted posters on the bulletin board and see a familiar face. The face has familiar features, but the expression gives you pause. It's unmistakable Margot, but she looks scared and angry, and the name is different too. The Margot you knew was at peace, kind, and caring. You feel fortunate to have met her when you did. The poster lists her offenses as assault, theft, racketeering, public nuisance. Nancy? Sorry, just lost in thought. Yes, that person has been on the most wanted list for a few years now. Skagway was a near lawless place. Sometimes who the criminals were was a matter of public opinion. And sometimes, if you didn't make friends with the right people, you could get stuck with all sorts of trumped-up charges. Does she look familiar to you? No, I don't recognize her. Very well, let's begin. Suddenly, the door bursts open to reveal your boss, Professor Plummer. Nancy, there you are. Welcome back. I heard the train had come in. Sir, we're in the middle of a confidential interview. My apologies, I won't be a moment. Nancy, what did you find? Are there diamonds and crimson? I must know. Yes or no? I mean, I don't know for sure. I have a suspicion that the answer is yes, but Jack and Nathan and Kimi all said that it would be best for Crimson if no one knew. So I'm just gonna do the right thing. Instead of answering the question scientifically, I'm going to answer with my heart. No. I'm afraid I didn't find anything significant, Professor. I managed to obtain some good samples, though, and I think I'll still be able to produce a good report from my fieldwork. It just won't be very exciting. I'm sorry to hear it, Nancy. As for exciting, most research isn't. Don't worry too much about that. Come see me when you're ready, and I'll help you with your report. Thanks so much, Professor Plummer. Take care, Nancy. See you soon. Okay, now let's really begin. Any information you provide will be kept strictly confidential, of course. Thank you. I appreciate it. After examining the area, we believe Mr. Richards was assaulted at the jetty near the lodge. Do you have any evidence connecting Nessa to the scene at the jetty? Yes or no? Not in my inventory. I mean, no. No, I'm afraid not. Okay, moving on. Did you find anything in areas besides the jetty that connect Nessa to Evan's kidnapping? Yes or no? Yes? Yes, I do. Actually, pass. No, I'm afraid not. We believe Mr. Richards was being held in the lodge's smokehouse before being moved to the garnet mine. I mean, I feel like the Jordan almonds, but I just feel like that's not strong enough. Did you find any evidence to support our theory regarding his unlawful confinement? Yes or no? God, can I see the... Evidence regarding his unlawful confinement? Yes? Crumbs? No. How did you figure out that Mr. Richards was taken to the garnet mine? If you're not sure, you can just say no or pass. Mr. Richards used the jam from Jack's thumbprint cookies to draw a hidden symbol. The symbol was a red circle surrounded by a round red border. Red? It was raspberry jam. I tasted it. Tasted it? Yes, it was delicious. The symbol even resembled the thumbprint cookies, which I learned are called Hallengrata in Swedish. Hallengrata means raspberry cave in English. And raspberry cave could be a garnet mine? Oh, that's him talking. Exactly. Mr. Richards was talking about the garnet mines at dinner on the night I arrived in Crimson. He said they've been deserted for years. It was the perfect place for them to hide him. We weren't able to recover Mr. Richards' body from the mine. The autopsy revealed his airway was swollen and inflamed. Oh, we were able to recover. Nessa claims his death was accidental, that he choked to death on the Jordan almonds she was trying to feed him. Do you have any knowledge that might contradict your claim? Yes or no? Yes. Yes, I do. Allergy. Mr. Richards was allergic to almonds and had been since childhood. It was common knowledge, and Nessa brought Jordan almonds with her when she returned to the lodge. I found shattered pieces of Jordan almonds in the smokehouse where I believe Mr. Richards was briefly held. I managed to recover one of Nessa's fingerprints from the remnants of the shiny candy shells. Stellar work, Nancy. Our investigative team didn't find that. What's more, there were more Jordan almond pieces in the cavern where Nessa brought him. There's no doubt in my mind that Nessa brought the Jordan almonds to the lodge, knowing full well how dangerous they were to Mr. Richards. Maybe at first she only planned to intimidate him with them, but in the end, she killed him with them. Let's move on to Corvus Shaw's role in Mr. Richards' kidnapping and murder. Evidence that could connect Corvus to these crimes? No. Unfortunately, I really feel like I biffed it on the whole Nessa and Corvus thing. No, I'm afraid not. We suspect Nessa was brought to the lodge by Nessa. Corvus was brought to the lodge by Nessa to commit fraud. Yes? No, that's what we needed to find in his satchel. Rangers apprehended Carl Leffler in the middle of a sabotage attempt on the Sulaks, so that's an open and shut case. But we suspect this man is involved in other illegal acts. Do you think you can attribute other criminal activities to him, yes or no? Yes, he stole my bag. I found his train ticket stub in one of the jackets he left behind before he fled the lodge. When I saw him on the platform in Crimson, I mentioned that I hadn't seen him on the train. He told me that he'd been in the first-class car, which was a lie. His ticket stub clearly says coach, same as mine and Kimi's. I vaguely remember a man sitting directly behind Kimi and I for part of the journey up to Crimson. He was concealed by a newspaper. I never saw his face. I think he overheard me and Kimi talking about Crimson and why we were traveling there. He must have been afraid I'd be able to reveal him as an imposter if I had my field kit, so he got rid of it while me and Kimi were sleeping. I think he tossed my luggage out of the back of the train. That would be the easiest way to dispose of it surreptitiously. He then hid it in the neighboring first-class car when it was empty, near the end of our journey. Very well deduced, Nancy. It just so happens Rangers found your luggage near the train tracks, between Crimson's train station and the previous stop. Oh my goodness, they did? Yes, your name was found on the tag inside. Everything is intact. That's wonderful news. I was afraid I'd have to save up for another field kit. Happy ending. Your luggage is still an exhibit in the ongoing investigation into Carl Leffler. We found some fingerprints on the inside and outside of the luggage. We'll be needing to fingerprint you while you're here at the station. The shoe is on the other foot. So we can separate your prints from those of the suspects. After the case is wrapped up, we'll return your luggage to you, of course. I understand. Thank you, Ranger Murdoch. Do you have the ticket stub you found? If so, may I have it? Of course. Here you go. You hand the train ticket stub over to Ranger Murdoch. If you have something else you'd like to tell me about Leffler, just say so, or say no and I'll ask about something else. Anything else to say about Leffler? I really don't know. I have so many notes. Oh, damn. Was this evidence? The jar? Was the jar and the flypaper evidence that I could have used earlier? Damn. Well, the longer this concluding section is going on, the less I kind of want to go back and fix the mistakes I've made. But I think that maybe the jar with the flypaper in it might be evidence we can tie to Nessa. I'm not sure. I don't think there's anything else we can say about Carl. He eats too many cookies. And finally, Margot's death. Margot's murder. Oh, wait. That was about the kidnapping. It does appear to be the case. We're looking into it. Do you have any evidence you'd like to give me that could help us make a case for Margot's murder? Jar. I recovered this jam jar from the river by Crimson Lodge. This is evidence in the murder, not the kidnapping. I think it's a key piece of evidence against Nessa regarding Margot's poisoning. Thanks, Nancy. What can you tell me about it? There's a powdery white residue inside, along with a bit of flypaper. I'd be very interested to learn what the residue is, though I wouldn't be surprised if it's arsenic. Really? Yes, the box for the flypaper strips warns that they contain arsenic, pretty dangerous stuff. We'll find out one way or another, thanks, Nancy. I found a fingerprint on the outside of the jam jar. It's Nessa's fingerprint. This will go a long way towards connecting Nessa to Margot's death, and very possibly to ruling the death of poisoning. Excellent work. What's more, I overheard Nessa having a conversation with Corvus in the apple orchard. She admitted to soaking flypaper in glass jars to obtain poison, storing it in her flask and tossing the jars over the waterfall. That's pretty incriminating, especially if the evidence can back up your story. Thanks. Do you have anything else to show me? Do I? The flypaper jar itself. What's this? The wire cutters. I don't think so. Maybe the flypaper itself. I found this empty box of flypaper in the garden shed. After reading its tiny warning label, I discovered that flypaper contains arsenic. Jack maintains a supply of flypaper at the lodge, but this is the only box that was in the shed. And this box looks crisp and new, but empty. I suspect Nessa was stealing flypaper and extracting arsenic from it. An interesting theory, Nancy. May I take this box into evidence? Of course. Nothing else. I think that does it, actually. Thanks for your time, Nancy. Alright, so, yeah, we completely biffed it in regards to Evan and the kidnapping. But, I mean, I think that they got Corvus, right? But they couldn't connect Nessa to it because we didn't take her hair. But it's fine. It's fine, it's fine. You head home after completing your interview with Ranger Murdoch and immediately set to work on your field report of Crimson. You read at length about the samples you've obtained and the observations you've made, though you do leave out a few details, such as that there are diamonds in Crimson. Professor Plummer proves to be an enthusiastic and patient mentor despite his mild disappointment at the unremarkable findings. You impressed him with your attention to detail and hard work. Together, you produce an impeccable field report that is published by the Royal Canadian Museum and eventually endorsed by the Geological Survey of Canada. Your first publication, Nancy, a real feather in your cap. Weeks pass. Soon you're immersed in your regular life. You become an expert on the filing system and even suggest some ways to improve it. You find yourself missing the fresh air, the roaring waterfalls, and rushing rivers of Crimson. You wonder if you'll ever hear about how things are going up there. Until one day... God, this has been a lot of reading. I need to drink some tea. There you are, Nancy. I thought today's newspaper might be of interest to you. You start reading the newspaper. You're relieved to see no mention of Crimson anywhere, not even in the smallest news items. You figure no news is good news. There's no mention at all about Carl's attempted sabotage at the Sioux Locks, only that there will be minor delays due to routine maintenance. They probably want to make sure there aren't any more explosive devices in and around the locks. Had Albert succeeded, you shudder to think of it. You skim the rest of the newspaper, but nothing else catches your eye. That's a relief, I suppose. Even though Nessa and Corvus are obviously wanted on the front of the graphic. Too bad about the whole diamond fiasco, eh, Nancy? But we both knew it was a long shot. Good work today, kiddo. See you tomorrow, bright and early.
Yes, sir.
You start the long walk home. You're relieved that Crimson won't become an open pit mine, and that Kimi and her cormorants are safe and happy. We get to see Toronto in whatever year this is. Hiya, Nancy. Another late night, eh? I've got a bit of stew saved for you, kept nice and warm in the stove.
Thanks, Mrs. Williams. I'm starving.
Go on in, lass. I'll serve it up.
I'll be down in a bit.
Okay, lass, take your time. Mrs. Williams ladles a hearty bowl of stew and slices a bit of bread for you. The food is delicious and warms you to the bone. She sits with you and the two of you chat about the goings-on in the neighborhood. You're cheerful she rents your room so cheaply. Museum clerks don't get paid very much. Once your belly is full and Mrs. Williams has washed the bowl, she waves you away from this menial task. You step lightly upstairs lest you wake the other lodgers. You fall asleep as your head hits the pillow. You're exhausted, and tomorrow will be another exhausting day. But every exhausting day is another step closer to making your dreams come true. Well done, Nancy. Aww. You did a good job sussing out the motives and actions of the other guests, but you missed the mark on a few things. There are points? You scored 13 points out of 24 during your pre-departure ponderings. More than 50%. I'm proud of that. You aren't of much help at all to the Rangers' investigation. Hopefully they can still find justice for the wrong parties. You scored 3 points out of 19 during your interview with Ranger Murdoch. Great. You did pretty well in your investigation and reporting of Margot's death. You scored 5 points out of 8 for your Margot investigation. Carl Leffler, aka Albert Respa, was tried and found guilty of sabotage of the railway bridge, attempted sabotage of the Sulaks, espionage, fraud, theft, and a litany of minor charges. He was incarcerated at the Kingston Penitentiary until his death 12 years later of a heart attack. Not surprising. The Sulaks were patrolled by the Northwest Mounted Police for the duration of the Great War, and no other sabotage attempts were made. Thanks to this vigilance, Canadian supply lines along the Great Lake waterways remained uninterrupted. This played an important part in Commonwealth war efforts and crucially contributed to the Allied victory. Is this guy a real person? Carl Leffler. I'll have to look him up after this. Corvus Shaw was found guilty of being an accomplice in Evan's kidnapping and murder. He was disbarred and served 8 years in a medium security prison. Upon release, he dedicated himself to community service. You wish you'd recovered evidence for the authorities to charge him with forgery and attempted fraud. I didn't even know we were looking for that, honestly. So, But you're glad he had to face the consequences of the other crimes. Margot was laid to rest alongside Evan and his parents in Crimson's lushly overgrown cemetery, in an informal service attended by Jack, Nathan, and Kimi. You wish you'd been able to make Nessa face justice for Margot's murder, but at least Margot's at rest where she was loved. Kimi Kashiro stayed on at the lodge until after the autumn migration of birds, when she returned to Vancouver to be with her family. From then on, she'd visit Crimson for the spring and autumn migrations, as well as the cormorant's nesting season every summer. Following Evan's death, Jack remained at the lodge, continuing to take care of it under the supervision of the Cardinal family. When Jack became old and creaky, the Cardinals in turn took care of him. You continue working diligently as a clerk at the Royal Canadian Museum. A month later, you're accepted at the University of Toronto in the Department of Geology and Paleontology as an undergraduate. Professor Plummer spoke highly of your fieldwork in Crimson in his letter of recommendation. Although your findings weren't revolutionary, he tells you that impeccable work, regardless of result, is the bedrock of any scientific discipline, and that he's very proud of you. A few months later, you receive a letter from Ranger Murdoch praising your investigative prowess and tenacity in helping to foil the sabotage attempt at the Sulaks. He says you're a natural detective and that he hopes your paths will cross again someday. Thanks for playing! Thanks for making this game, Julia Minamata. That was the Crimson Diamond. I really liked that. And I mean, it's a bummer that we missed out on so much. Like, I felt like we really like were thorough in a lot of ways, but I think that we missed the mark where it was most important, unfortunately. And the game doesn't really indicate which things are important. Like, I didn't even know we were investigating Corvus for fraud, but I think it's very cool that that's something you can miss. Things that I didn't like the deaths. Even though most of them were kind of clustered around the end in the mine, where they're not as... It's not like there's a constant throughout the game threat of losing progress, but I think in a game that doesn't autosave very frequently, I think that having deaths that erase progress was not good. But the puzzles were all good. Like, the main game puzzles, I really liked them. The only one that I had a problem with was that salting the cookies so that Albert drinks water out of his pitcher. Like, that was the only one that I genuinely thought was bad. The rest of them were really smart. The one that I remember most fondly, or will remember most fondly going forward, I think, was like getting Evan's fingerprints off of the cue ball in billiards, because that was a really clever use of the text parser system. And I will talk about the text parser system when I'm done with this, because that was very cool. But it teaches you a very specific verb that you might not have known prior to playing the game. And then it's like, you need to input this verb. Scratch the ball. And like, I just think that was a really smart way of implementing the text parser. And I think that the text parser was in general just really fun. I don't think I could have played a game that was just text. I needed the visual, but the visuals were simple enough that I didn't feel like they were taking away from the text-based nature of the game. I liked that it kind of trained me to pay attention to the descriptions and not just glaze over them, because any detail mentioned in the paragraphs they give you when you look around the room, that's something that's worth taking a closer look at. And it's not just the things that are represented visually in the very simple graphics. It's things that are mentioned in the text. That's what's important. And I feel like I kind of learned that a little bit late, but I did learn it eventually. And I don't know, I just thought it was really neat. I really appreciate the retro style, even though I feel like, again, things like the deaths and some of the harder puzzles, I feel like are relics of retro adventure games that ought to be left in the past, but I felt like I was part of an era of video gaming that I missed in playing this game, and I'm really appreciative of that. So yeah, the ending cutscene dragged on quite a bit, even though some of it was in that pop quiz style, like they asked you a question, you answer it. So not exactly a cutscene, but it still dragged on quite enough that I don't actually think I'm gonna go back and try to save Evan or get the questions right that I missed. I do like that the game kind of tells you what you missed, so if you wanted to go back and try it again, the information is there for you, and you have a hint. But I don't know, I'm tired, I need to get to work soon, so yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. So yeah, I have been Mars, this was the Crimson Diamond, and I will be back soon with another game. Bye!